I decided to take a trip out into the country to visit a friend. His name is Jim Kuhn. He's an actor. My name is William Schotten. I'm a full-time cinematographer, but I used to be a director, a long time ago. A director of no-budget horror films. Jim was in my last film 8 years ago.
My name is Jim Kuhn. I'm a professional actor. I've been on Return to Amish. I've been on Fat and Furious on the Discovery Channel. Of course, Return to Amish was Breaking Amish, and that was on TLC. I've done approximately 47 movies, both big-time Hollywood and also independent films.
So Wormwood's End was a little bit different for you, huh? How did you like being on a sequel?
I actually enjoyed being a wait, Wormwood's End is a sequel? For what?
Perhaps I should start this story from the beginning.
So it's like the year 2000, and I had seen an issue of Fangoria where these guys had set out and shot a Super 8mm feature in the desert called Bleak Future, and it fascinated me that they put so much effort in such a unusual format. I started reading online and going on, at the time there were just message boards, it was like 20 years ago, and looking at equipment and how they did certain things, and yeah, so you know, just really the format fascinated me. I had gotten Keith Boron on board, who was an old friend of mine. I had met him in church. You know, we decided to kind of collaborate. He was going to be my assistant director. Then later on down the line, I had met Dave Caleris, who went on to be my director of photography. Dave's importance to getting started was paramount.
I was working at a big box retailer whose name should not be mentioned. The rumor was going around that one of our employees was shooting a horror movie, met up with Mr. Schotten, and I think were we still on the clock when we were doing this? I think we were.
Out of all of us, any of us, he's the only one who A, had a light meter, which you need, and B, knew how to use his light meter.
And after about 5 or 6 minutes of talking to me, he says, well, hell, you might as well shoot this movie for me. And those were the famous last words. I think I said that on one of our other documentaries.
You know, at the time, I was working for Home Depot. I'd met Mike Hanton there. Mike Hanton was working at the paint department.
Mike and I went to high school together. He graduated in '93, I graduated in '94. We played on the same soccer team, so that's how we got to, you know, be friends. I wrote Waxing Gibbous. I wrote it, I got the actors first. I kind of reverse engineered it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get a location and I'm gonna write a story about whatever can take place in this location. And it was a bar, and we were in our 20s, and so it was like.
All right, everybody just simmer the down. I try to be cool, not get everybody involved, but you asshole just wouldn't let it be.
Just take it easy, Mickelson.
Shut the up, Tapper.
See, you shot Waxing Gibbous in '99. Is that right?
I think we started in '99 and went into 2000. We shot some pickup scenes in November.
It couldn't have been too much longer, because I remember how I met Bill as we were both working at Home Depot, and we were just happened to be talking one day and said that, you know, my friend Jim had made this movie and I played this part.
It's like, I'm an actor.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm an actor, yeah.
And Bill said, hey, you know, I've got this script. Do you want to, you know, be in it? And, you know, at that time, yeah, you know, let's do it.
My barber had known a guy. He says, I know this guy named Glenn Reed. He says he's really into this, where he does makeup and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, I want to talk to him.
My name is Glenn Reed. I did the makeups and spatial effects for Dead Life and Dead Life 2 for Mr. Bill Schotten. for free from Mr. Bill Shotton because he's a cheap bastard.
I shoot on Super 8, and what are you shooting on?
Which is what I'm saying, getting a movie made, a no-budget movie. People go on about low-budget movies. Well, I made a low-budget movie with $100,000 or $250,000 budget. That is not a low-budget movie. That is a frigging big-budget movie where I come from. A low-budget movie is a whole movie. You got $2 grand. Here it is. Go do it. And a lot of that's getting chewed up because you've made the, how shall I say, artistic choice to use 8mm film cartridges, because why wouldn't you want to shoot your first movie on a dying frigging media?
Anybody who's ever shot on it generally thinks that there are easier ways to shoot movies.
Yeah, Super 8 was actually in its death throes at the time. It was basically your granddad's camera. So he had to record the sound on a separate device. At first we used a 4-head stereo VCR for people who remember what having a 4-head VCR was like. I'm the I got a 4-head VCR.
This really wasn't working well. I had contacted an old friend of mine, JJ Zetz.
I had this old Sony laptop. It was an old, like an Intel Pentium. And I had a battery-powered AKG condenser mic and a cord and a little 1/4" to little 1/8" audio adapter to plug into the laptop sound card. And it was a little, you had to like not move it or it would crackle, and you know, little things like that. I had to constantly prop it, and you know, it was very seat of the pants production. JJ and I had played in a band when I was very young. When I was 16 years old, I joined his band, Mr. Know-It-All, and Jay and I became friends when I was very young. I used to play in a band with Bill, and he was very much a go-getter with things, you know, and I always thought he could do this. So if anybody would get it done, he would. So that's why I even agreed to produce, to be a part of it, because I knew it wasn't a joke.
My friend Keith, man, I think he introduced us back, when was it? 2002, right? In 2002, yeah, we met and you showed me the script of Dead Life.
Yeah.
And somehow I got in the movie. That was pretty cool. All right, go ahead. What else do you need to know? Who was that guy? The guy that came through, he was a zombie, he was green. And he came busting, he's like, I'm gonna bust through that door and kick your ass. I'm like, all right. So he comes busting through the door, tackles me for real, I'm laying on the ground. And Glenn's like, okay, you got an appliance on your leg. And he's biting it and I'm screaming like, I'm like, ouch, come on, dude, quit biting my leg. And Glenn's like, you're actually biting his leg. The appliance is like up, you know, bite the appliance, not half of his calf muscle off.
Well, and you have to take in consideration that, you know, this is going far back in time now. At that time in my life, and I think a lot of people that were associated with the product or the production, there was sort of that a party-esque atmosphere, you know, that you're going and donating your time. Well, you know, why not have a few drinks while you're doing it?
Which was mostly beer and a lot of silly shit.
It was like one of the funnest things I ever did. It was also one of the hardest things I ever do. The shoot schedule could be a little on the grueling side, morning till night. And I was having problems sleeping. I remember it was really tough for me to get there even. I was just like, oh, I was about ready to fall over every day. When I ran out of money, Jay stepped in and finished as my executive producer. He ended up the executive producer of the whole thing. Without Jay, the thing would have not got finished. But the energy kicked in. You know, we had a little bit of catering, coffee or whatever, and just boom, drink Pepsi and just try to go, you know what I mean? And you know, we were all a chunk younger than we are now, so.
We were doing something big, but we were having a blast doing it. And JJ was like the on-set entertainment. I'll never forget his cat food and ass song.
Cat food and ass. It's the only place where you can stop and get gas. Cat food and ass.
Effects day was always fun on set. You know, like Glenn would show up with like, you know, it'd be like, so today's the day we're gonna peel somebody's scalp off, and Glenn would show up with a big cardboard box and set it over in the corner, and I'd be like, where's it at?
The director's job is to tell you what he wants. This is what he wants to see on screen. Your job is to tell him what you can or cannot achieve, and then the two of you figure out how to get what he wants out of what is possible with the money he's willing to spend, which in some cases is ridiculously small amounts. Again, people freak out when I tell them Dead Life, the entire budget for materials on Dead Life was $300.
Most people here, the kids here, the parents are here right now.
The idea I came up with was what I wanted was a giant guy who actually knew a guy who was the right size, Mike Preeley, who was in the movie, chewing on a toddler leg like it was a turkey leg at a Renaissance festival.
Has that got audio on it?
Yeah.
But all the meat and skin were gelatin. They were FX grade gelatin made with 300 bloom baking gelatin, sorbitol, and glycerin. Now, if you mix all that together and try to eat it, it tastes like, well, nasty is about as good a term as I heard it described.
Go the other way. Get the laughter out.
And I hear from the front yard where they're shooting this thing is, Glenn, your friend won't eat the zombie leg!
It's not gonna hurt you, I promise.
We're just gonna do it like this.
No. Big guy, Mike's made up in his makeup and he's good to go, but he will not eat the toddler leg. It's just the stink is bad. He's looking at it. It doesn't look good. It's been out in the sun. He's sketchy.
Yeah, I'll go myself.
So this zombie leg, which probably weighed about 10, 15 pounds worth of gelatin, somebody walked off with. Out of our $300 budget, they probably walked off with about $50 worth of our budget in one shot. They just, plus they took my shoe and sock, so I wasn't happy about that either.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. Now available at Cat Food and Ass, human leg. Toddler leg. Only at Cat Food and Ass.
The one kid, you were like, okay, let's do a makeup test. And the guy starts biting his arm. Do you remember that? I don't remember who that guy was, but he was like the assistant. And people on Facebook were like, or not Facebook, but IMDb were like commenting, that was incredible. It was like zombie cannibalization. And it was just like a makeup test, wasn't it?
The total from the time I decided to make the movie to the time it was finished was about 4 years total. That's how long it took for us to get this thing into some sort of movie form. On Super 8, on a format that was absolutely dreadful.
Not bad for a first time, considering we hadn't even shot a short at that point. It was just, we went like right into a full-length production.
Again, it was a bunch of people who had absolutely no idea what the f they were doing, having a good time, but they made a movie, and people don't understand how big an achievement that is. To go from start to finish on a movie is no small thing. You got to wrangle a lot of cats.
Finally, when it was done and we decided to shop it to distributors, Brain Damage Films picked it up and liked it, and did not pick it up because it was a good movie. Picked it up because the key art was so good. As a matter of fact, we were all but ignored until the key art showed up.
Seeing Dead Life on a retail store shelf was like, wow, really, we're here?
It's nice when somebody comes up to you and say, hey, Dead Life, yeah, I know you guys. You're that guy.
Hey, Mr. Sutton, can I have your autograph?
So we got this little rinky-dink film we made here in Hubbard, Ohio, is now on the shelves nationwide. I have people from all over the country saying, I saw your movie on the shelves. I saw your movie on the shelves. Everybody saw this thing. Which is not always a great thing because the movie really has some problems. And it got destroyed and raked over the coals. Okay, I made a bad movie, but it was my first time out. Let's make another one.
I was shooting my first film and, oh my goodness, I was a baby. I was just out of high school. And Bill was shooting his first film, which was Dead Life. And Dominic Koulianis, who was my co-star, was also in Bill's film. And I remember Bill showed up on set just to see how the shoot was going. And Dominic's like, I want to introduce you to somebody. This is somebody you're going to want to know. You made this joke that was like, I don't even remember what the joke was, but it was, I was like, oh man, okay. And I'm like,
I got contacted by a woman named Laura Seeley. I met her at a convention, I think. She worked at Lowe's at the time. I was working as a vendor rep and I was going from store to store, servicing product, and met Laura, and Laura had a script and a little bit of money, and I said, hey, I'm ready for my next big shot at something. So
Bill asked me to come work with him, and I did a short for him, which was called NECROTROPIC.
If you think it looks great, wait till you try it.
And it was such a great time on set. We laughed the whole time. I know we shot on a weeknight.
This happens every time I find a girl I like. I tell her, she freaks out.
And I remember getting a call from Bill, and he was like, hey, are you available, I think it was that weekend, to come shoot? I know it's last minute, but it's out in, out by Akron, but like Mogador.
She cut her teeth on that film and obviously, you know, was very green.
Bad. And remember, I had to recite the prayer at the end, and you were just happy I memorized it. You were so excited that I memorized it. You thought that was good acting because I memorized it. It was terrible.
Well, you have been judged. You are the last. The gate is closed. Go in peace.
We were in a position to where, like, if somebody could remember their lines, they were good.
Plus, I don't think the script was finished. Like it just ended. So
the script didn't make any sense. The woman that wrote it just didn't explain anything that was going on in the movie. It just made no sense at all.
We ended up fixing some of the technical issues. We ended up switching to digital. At the time, the DVX 100 was a very popular camera with filmmakers.
That camera actually had the first non-interlaced video, so it looked more film-like.
So Dave was the director of photography, and Mike Petrucci, who was very well versed in with not only this camera but in video. He works for the news. Mike Petrucci ended up being the camera operator while Dave was the director of photography. So,
in fact, there were a few major distributions that were shot on that. I can't remember the name. A Scanner Darkly was one of them. That was shot on the DVX.
So I show up that day out in the country, and I was probably a solid 30 pounds heavier from when he had last seen me, and I was like, whoa. But then throughout it, I dropped that weight throughout the film, but they put me in this god-awful mail carrier outfit that was absolutely awful and so super unflattering. So, but he did like throw in a costume change in the middle of that because he just felt bad having me dressed in that horrible outfit.
I didn't do a good job on that one either. I guess I did the best with what I had. I didn't do well. I made a lot of like poor production decisions that could not be that could not be absorbed by the dedicated crew that was working on it.
Now you got the paper box. Hey, don't be too loud. Oh, I sue cars and cattle all the time. The neighbor! Hey, do you think the zombies hurt us?
We got to have David Crawford on Sabbath from Dawn of the Dead. I thought that was awesome because when David came out to be to act in this thing, boy, did everybody get better at what they did. I mean, Ashley got to be a better actress, Bobby got to be a better actor, and we got to be friends. That's where I met David, and we're still friends today, and ended up working on the Dead Life sequel with him.
Gonna get ya!
Action.
Don't get rough. Keep it down.
Let's do that again.
Don't get rough. Keep it down.
Don't get rough, keep it down. Action.
Don't get rough. Keep it down. Don't get rough. Keep it down. Okay.
You know, there was a lot of arguments and animosity between myself and Laura Seeley. You know, and in retrospect, at the time you think you're the good guy in all these things, but when like years go by and all the anger subsides and you give it some good thought, you kind of realize that in those instances, like seldom are you the good guy.
So there was like the Shot and Filmworks crew, and then there was the Laura Seeley crew, and there was some conflict and turmoil, just disagreement.
You know, whenever you're battling with somebody, you make decisions that are unkind, and even despite that, Laura Seeley and I went on and did another movie together. She actually asked me, I don't know why she asked me back to do another movie, because we didn't really get along on that first one, and we certainly didn't get along on the second one either, and that was called Dread.
Blessed be God. Blessed be his holy name.
You know, nobody seems to like Dread from the Shot and Filmworks camp. I kind of like Dread a little bit. Ashley came back and played a nun with the most dreadful Italian accent you'll ever hear.
It was a demon. A female. I had this brilliant idea that I would do an accent. And Bill's like, yeah, just do it.
Let me help you. Come out. I will not hurt you.
My accent failed miserably. I was so bad.
Sister, stay inside.
It's a dam.
That, me and her got, I don't know.
I'm like, yeah, that was such a bad decision.
Lord Jesus, save us from the fires of hell. Lead all souls into heaven, especially those in need most of your mercy.
And I came back for like a supporting role. That was also written by Laura. And I got to act with Bill Heinzman, the late Bill Heinzman, and he was wonderful and just super pleasant. Just really enjoyed working with him. That was a great time.
I honestly, I thought I was so drained after doing Dread that I almost didn't want to get back into filmmaking. It was like,
I think that maybe Dave did some of his best work up to that point on Dread.
It was a lot of work, and it seemed like all the best stuff ended up on the cutting room floor. It seemed like a lot of effort for nothing. So, and then Bill says, "Oh, come on, let's do another one."
No! What do you want from me?
Along came Tom McLaughlin, and Tom was a writer for, he had written a Spider-Man comic at the time, and that's what it was, at the time, was his big thing.
Bloodluck was probably one of my favorite times ever. We thought this was it. We were gonna make it, and this was it felt like we were gonna make it.
On our own, our way, and we did, and we knocked it out of the park, I think. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but
that was such a truly happy time. So Bloodlock will always have a special place in my heart.
In terms of lighting, we stepped up the game. We had much more camera movement, lots of smoke again.
The producer's rep got a call, and it was Ghost House Pictures, and they were like, listen, they love Bloodlock. They gotta, you're pretty much in. You're gonna sign the deal's gonna go through tomorrow. And I think there had to be some type of voting, but everybody was like on board. Bill called me. I don't think anybody else knew, and we just knew this deal was gonna go through. Then the call comes through the next day, and they decided against it. There was no reason given. That was the first of many disappointments.
I thought that we finally made it.
That is one thing I can truly say I've learned about this, where people are like, yeah, we're gonna be this, and we're gonna be that, and you know what, we're going into theaters, we're gonna be everywhere. I'm like, all right.
If my today's self could go back in time and kick my then self in the ass, I would say, no, you didn't make it at all.
I'm telling you right now, if you were saying we're gonna be, shit, no.
Yep, lesson learned. Okay, next project.
You know, after that, we hit sort of things started getting weird with the group.
There was dissension in the group where some people wanted to split off and do their own thing.
So I figured I better get one more in. So I chose my swan song as Dead Life 2.
You know, Bill and I really don't know what changed in that. But it was fine. You understood that people wanted to go and do their own thing. But it was just kind of like, I don't know what happened, you know, there. Wait, maybe I do know what happened there.
The location was going to be this abandoned radar base that's out in Brookfield. It's a military base that had been decommissioned. And in order to make that happen is where Matt Atkins comes into play of Latham Media.
So years ago, Latham was in the process of putting together a short film. We ended up looking around for different locations that would fit this Cold War feel that we had in mind. And we ended up coming across a piece of property that we were familiar with from our childhood. It was a abandoned radar base turned nursing home. A lot of poking and prodding. The county commissioner's office finally okayed our use of the property. And not long after that, I received a message from Bill Schotten from Schotten Filmworks. We ended up reaching a mutual agreement where we could use two different sites of that property for two different projects, and things went pretty smooth after that.
Oh, geez, that was something that you couldn't pull out of your own imagination. It was like hell on earth in so many ways.
Oh man, yeah, it was crazy. All the dilapidated buildings and barracks and things that were there. It was unreal. It was like couldn't ask for a better set, and it was perfect.
The radar base itself was really, really cool as hell. I have a thing for haunts. I have a thing for haunted places. I really believe that is a haunted place.
Just walking around through the buildings and stuff, and walking through some of the houses and things, and just seeing trees growing up inside of buildings and roofs caved in and just shit everywhere.
So the property is kind of a logistical nightmare from a certain standpoint. Latham tried on many occasions to try and get power dropped out there from the local power company. Considering they had a couple radio towers in operation out there, we didn't figure it was going to be that much of an issue. The power's already up there. We just needed a meter installed and a drop. nobody wanted to help facilitate that at all.
And at some point, Jim Fogarty wanted a small role in it, but I had bigger plans for Jim Fogarty.
Bill, I either want to be a zombie, I want to kill a zombie, or I want to get killed by a zombie. So then he sends me the script, okay? And on like an email. So I have Julie Smith printed out. And so I come back from lunch and I just start, you know, she bound it for me and I just start leafing through. I'm like, there's highlighter all over this thing.
Highlighted.
What the
But anyway, well, the other thing was, it was cool that we went from using film and Super 8 cameras to then in the Dead Life 2, the NECRODEVILS. We used like state-of-the-art HD cameras, you know, those were awesome. It was fun. Had 2 cameras, 3 cameras at some point.
We even did martial arts to prepare for it. Like we had a really good friend named Jeff, who's passed away, who taught us, very skilled in martial arts. So we were really preparing for Dead Life 2.
Well, as I had discussed on the very first Dead Life, I refer to it as meatball movie making. And we were literally on a shoestring on that one. This time we had some better cameras, better equipment, but it was still not something you would see in standard movie set. So I refer to it as meatball movie making version 2.0.
You just wanted to get the whole gang back together, basically, for the, and the thing was, the 2 of the guys that were involved, Jim Kuhn and Bad Brad Sheridan, I kind of asked them to do it, and I was glad I got to work on them because I worked on them on a movie that never got released.
I seen a Facebook post about it and I got a hold of Bill. I said, hey, you know, I'm an actor. I'd love to work for you, you know, if you got any openings. And Bill goes, well, most of my openings are pretty much filled up. I do have some spots as a background actor. You know, if you want to come meet me, we can meet face to face. And then we can talk a little bit more into it. So, which I did. I went and met Bill over in Hubbard, Ohio. A couple weeks after that, I was home and I got a phone call from Bill and he told me, he said, hey, Jim, he goes, I got good news for you. I said, what's that? And he said, you've just been upgraded from a background actor to now a co-star.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, we had absolutely nothing out there, no electricity, no water. Everything that we had to bring with us. I had a marine battery and a 1200 volt DC inverter to provide power. Somebody else brought a generator, but it didn't run right, so I couldn't trust the plugging electronics into it.
You saw a lot of faces from past productions. Shane Kimple, who I met while my time installing Digital Dish. Shane came on board and was one of the big players on Wormwood's End. Shane started back, I believe it was back in Below Ground, was the first time Shane maybe appeared on screen with us, him and his brother.
Shit, dude. Holy shit, dude.
Then continued on with us to Wormwood's End. Shane Kimple also appeared in our Day of the Lord proof of concept that we had just shot last year.
Geiger do that to you, baby girl? You hurting?
I've been worse. But the best part of getting on set, so we'd get there really early, usually, and the dew would still be on the ground, and you'd have your coffee, and everybody would be there, and most people would be super excited to be there.
Bill took us around the set, showed us, you know, where we was going to be filming at, and then we go in, and Bill goes, wait a minute, Jim. He goes, you got a beard and mustache. That ain't going to cut it. He goes, so he called one of his helpers, and they had razors, and I had to go upstairs with shaving cream, and Bill goes, go up to the bathroom there, and you have to shave that off your face, all that hair. So I was like, oh man, I've had this mustache ever since I was 13 years old, and you want me to take it off? That's my trademark. I came down all clean shaven and everything. Bill goes, that's what I want to see.
The one thing I do find it amusing was when I was involved with pulling that gentleman out of his vehicle. Because if you notice, it was kind of a faux pas on my end. I tell the other individual to check the vehicle, in which he does his little walk around, and I'm yelling at this guy.
Hands up in the air, turn around! Don't look at me, hands behind your head!
And then we walk away, and then a little bit later, what was this, the Yep or whatever his name, finds the kid in the back of the car, and I'm like, oh well.
Jim Coon. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And he would do, you know, that was his. He
all
was like,
about
I'm gonna
that.
make this line
Yep,
famous. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Yep. Yep. Yep. Yep. Yep. Yep. Yep.
The one part on the Jeep scene that I really wanted him to keep in the movie, but he cut it out, that I was kind of pissed about, is where I came out and I told him to stick his hands out of the vehicle and I was going to handcuff him. And Bill said, no, he goes, I don't think that would be more realistic. And I said, come on, Bill, you got to let me do it. And he goes, no. He goes, just we'll have to cut this out. And I'm like, oh, come on, dude. I really want this in there.
Hey, keep your hands on the blazer there, boy, or your Jeep, whatever the heck you got here.
Cut.
Mike and Jeff Robeck, Jeff Robeck was the only one left alive, I believe, in the original, brought them both back, and they were the links to the first one. And I don't know why, like what occurred to me, why would I want to make a sequel to a film that no one really liked that much to begin with? You know, it doesn't, you know, why would you do that?
Well, to me, it was just, the one was just more professionally done. It was almost like the difference between, like I saw yesterday, like Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Number 1 was just a low-budget horror, you know, film. Number 2, the second one, was just on a bigger budget, everything was bigger about it. Just the story, the equipment, the look of it, everything that we did, the cast. There was a lot of people involved, you know?
It had been, what, 10 years? You know, we had that scene in Waxing Gibbous.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then it was that. And it was very, I know we had a conversation about, like, man, it's going to be nice just to be doing that again. And I know Jim was excited because he didn't have to wear the director's hat. You know, he could just show up and deliver his lines and go on his way. And
we got done with the first shoot, and you're like, I'm like, okay, man, so we're going to do it again. He's like, no, we got it.
It's in the can.
And I'm like, wait a second.
It feels like the possibilities are endless, and you're really living your dreams. And for those moments while you're on set and those times you're on set, it's really special because you're doing something you absolutely love.
The first time that I had worked with Ashley, and I was really impressed with her. Like, she had this air of, and I don't know if she's acting today or, you know, how that went for her. But she definitely took the craft very seriously, and it was, I liked watching her on camera because you could see that transformation from Ashley to the character that she was portraying. And
eventually Ashley became a very, very, very good actress. Like today is very, very solid, good performing actress that can really deliver when she needs to. She's really good.
I couldn't be a good mom.
So working with Bill as an actor was great. I mean, which I think Bill brought my acting up tremendously, because in real life, Bill's my best friend.
I don't suppose anybody mind if I took that car.
Now, Sully, you wouldn't begrudge a girl just the simplest of creature comforts now, would you? You see this really cool bond between them, and they're such good friends, and they're just like trying to survive, right?
Okay.
You gotta go.
Okay. You men have a good time. Have fun. Because I'm going to stay here with the women.
Just trying to get out of this place that is just overran with terrible people and zombies. So
And I'm going to do woman game with the zombies. Thank you. Asshole.
But the shoot itself was great. I mean, honest to God, everybody had a good time. We were, I mean, even in the miserable cold when we were trying to do makeup in like 0-degree weather, and I mean, literally we had a fire barrel going trying to keep the stuff from freezing.
So it was like a party. Every night was like a party when we get together. Like especially the campfire scene, I thought that had kind of like a party-like vibe.
However Dave shot it over that fire.
It was a fire scene, right?
Yeah, it was really, it was lit in a way that was not false, like where you're like, oh, that's like too much light or, you know, whatever it was. And I remember sitting there and hearing like coyotes.
Shit back there, okay? All kind of stuff. What? Man, supplies, you know, water, first aid, MREs.
Extra rounds?
Being in that environment, you could almost picture in this apocalyptic setting that would be a good place for refuge and kind of feel safe.
And again, even when people got shifted out of scenes because they makeup too long, or the scene changed as they were in the middle of getting makeup done, because these things happen. Again, everybody, as far as I could tell, genuinely had a good time, myself included. I had a riot the entire time I was there.
Glenn did a phenomenal job with the makeup that he put me in as a zombie. It took him about an hour and a half to put my makeup on, but it was realistic as possible. I mean, I got a lot of compliments out of a lot of people that have seen that picture, and everyone was just amazed how well of a job he'd done. And
Glenn got to do the makeup, and he was very, very talented, and that was fun. He got to bruise me up, and I remember he had to put fingerprints on my neck.
It was when you guys were going through the hardware store that I screwed it up because it went out of focus for a bit. Somebody moved and they went out of focus, and I was so pissed and just obsessed with this. I was like, I failed, you know? But when I watched the movie, you couldn't even see, you couldn't even tell it happened. I was like, well, that wasn't so bad. And I was pissed, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I failed, I ruined the movie.
Originally, we were slated to, I was going to be playing both parts. So I would be playing Marcus, the brother, and also Max, the zombified Max. And we had been on a long shoot that day, and thankfully we had another comrade in arms, another Mike, that I was able to convince yourself and him that maybe it'd be better if he just got into the makeup and played it. And I think it worked out well.
So the video game was more or less difficulty versus time. So with video game design, it is a very lengthy process. I mean, you got to think AAA developers will work on a video game for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and have a group of anywhere from 10 to 100 people. The downside is you have all these tools, but unless you have a group that is dedicated on pushing forward with it and getting an end result, it kind of falls. It's like wet tissue. It falls apart real easy when you try and grab onto it. When you have no support network, so to say, and you're just people with an idea and a little bit of tool set that I think I can, and then you quickly get in too deep and you start flailing for land and hoping that you could swim ashore. It's kind of like, the guys that probably, swam out in the middle of the San Francisco Bay trying to get off the rock. I guarantee they got so far out and they were like, yeah, this wasn't a good idea. I'd at least be warm in my cell, Now I'm in the middle of the frickin' bay and I'm freezing my nuts off, you know what I mean?
Steps. Yeah. Franco. Yeah. This shit ends.
Because I think you continually improve, and I know that's the one thing that Mike and I talked about, like during the process of Wormwood's End, was, you know, he's looking back 10 years and he's like, man, Bill's really got his shit together on this project, you know?
We made so many memories from 2002 to 2012. And put out so many movies that, you know, I wouldn't trade that 10 years for anything. And even though I was broke through all of it.
Making a film for little money, right? Like $5,000. That's like roughing it, right? Like
and it was fun. Yeah. You know, in particular, like pulling a gun on somebody, okay? Shooting zombies, like, dude, that shit, you know? You're like a 10-year-old kid, man.
I love acting. I'm there for what I do. I love the passion. I love the art. An actor is what I've always wanted to be. And I knew what kind of person Bill was. I knew what kind of person I've worked with now already. I enjoyed going to set. I made a lot of good friends from this movie.
I cannot recollect any animosity. I don't have any memories that are tarnished by something that happened off camera or, you know, in waiting. Like everybody, like you said earlier, you know, they're there because they either want to support you or support Jim or, you know, just do something out of the ordinary. And they're genuinely excited to be there.
And it worked out because of the films, my personal opinion, of all the films, that was the best one. That's the one that walked and talked most like a real film.
And then the last day of filming, it was sad because we knew our time had come to an end. You know, we probably wouldn't see each other again unless, by the grace of God, somewhere down the road, we'd work together again.
It's always bittersweet because you get this one crew together and you're with each other for months. This is obviously the way independent films work.
So Mike Martini, as Steps in the film, he was like, what if we show the movie here at the Rex on Carson Street? And if most of you are local, you all know about the Rex, and it's a big venue and it's been around forever and they have huge, huge acts there. And I laughed and said, that would be awesome, it would be a dream, but that's never gonna happen. He said, why not? The day came, it was a very cold, cold November, and we packed it. Standing room only, completely packed.
When it came on screen with OTCs came on and then the film started, and I went there with my wife and my brother-in-law and his girlfriend at the time. When we were done, my brother-in-law's girlfriend was like, yo, that was really good. Like, you're a movie star. You know?
I just saw you on the big screen.
Yeah.
That really felt like a red carpet day. I mean, all these people, most people, we didn't even know who they were. They saw the flyers, they saw the posters, and they came out and just really supported, and that was just a dream.
And it came together. I was so impressed when I saw it on the big screen. I was like, damn, Bill pulled this off, man. Like,
I'm not saying I'm looking forward to another Dead Life per se. I'm looking forward to possibly working on another collaboration or another films, you know, in the future, you know, whatever it is. It's one of those things that, like, you get the bug and you can't get rid of it.
What I'm mostly doing now is, well, one, trying to get away from my job as much as humanly possible because I'm tired of working for somebody else, and I don't want to die working for somebody else. That just seems like a horrible, horrible way to die. And way too many people do it. I would like to be able to do something in the Halloween or haunt-related venue. About opening my own haunted house is a definite possibility.
Dead Life 2 ended that chapter of our lives on a high note before we all moved on and did different things.
But basically, two different points in our career that we could say this was where we started, this is where we came from, and this is where we ended. I think we ended on a high note. I really dug that a lot.
Buy the Blu-ray and DVD for all your friends and relatives. It makes a great Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day gift, okay? And, you know, make sure you really watch the scenes with Franco because he's really exemplary.
Again, I learned all, gear down. Terribly sorry.
Whoa. Wow. That's crazy. 2 sandbags on that, too.
Yeah.
Rookie. Yeah! It wasn't just me! Yeah, it wasn't just me.
Rookie. For the record, my phone's been off the whole time.
Yeah, the only guy.
You're the only true pro, man.
Satan knows who you are. Deep, 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 deep down in that nasty part of your soul you don't even like to think about, let alone talk to anybody about.
Swamp.
Sergey is large Russian man, better man really. He has very good time. He enjoys having very good time with, well, mostly American wives.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna throw a sack of quarters at that guy and knock him off his damn bike.
I should just say there's a lot unsaid. A lot. You people fill in the blanks.